Hi traders, welcome to a quick lesson. Today I want to talk a little bit about the selecting currencies to trade. The currency market is one of the largest playing fields for traders in terms of volatility, but in terms of available instruments to trade, it's really small. Most brokers offer around 30 to 40 instruments to trade, and a lot of new traders try to trade all of them always. Sooner or later, you realize that from the 40 instruments you trade, your system works with maybe 5 or 10. Sound familiar? For everyone that ever traded the stock market, you are probably aware that we have a lot more instruments to trade. For example, in the US, you have over 10,000 different companies to trade. But it doesn't mean that all instruments are going to work for you, of course. And for me, Forex is definitely the great starting point for the new traders, especially since you don't have so much things to worry about and to research, because if you think a little bit, you have a 10,000 companies in the US, but how much time you really need to research that companies and to make sure that you keep updating all the records. Starting with the Forex market is great. Even you can, till the end, trade just Forex, because Forex is still best in terms of volatility and it's going to provide you that decent amount of the trades for sure. If we start analyzing the reason why that's true, we get this data. Each pair has their own unique spread, nature of movement, different reasons for movements, different timing, different volume, and much more. And that's the reason why you are going to end up with trading only a few pairs. You just need to figure out what pairs are going to work for you and stick to them. Before we start explaining how to select your currency for today or maybe this month or this week, doesn't really matter, the process is the same, you must ask yourself these questions. First question is, what kind of system do I want to use in my trading? System that allow you to day trade or system to swing trade? This is really important part, because if you pick up something for a day trading, you need to select the currencies that move. Because day trading is that fast momentum play, and if you want to be in and out of a position quickly, you really need something that's moving. So you are going to search ideally for more volatile instrument. While if you're swing trading, you can probably add more instruments, because your trading on average is going to last from a few hours all the way to a few days. And definitely, maybe for a swing trading, I wouldn't pick so strong volatility pairs, just so I don't need to worry about what's going to happen when I'm not around or I'm sleeping. Since you need to count that part also in. So it's better to trade something that's not moving so strong right now, instead of trying to trade all the pairs, especially trying to trade high volatility instrument. Since if you open a trade before you went to bed, when you wake up, you will never be sure what is going to happen. And it's always better to use something that's not moving that strong while you are sleeping. So your goal would be to look a little bit at what instruments do not trade that much or don't have that strong volatility during your sleeping time. So you can keep the track of the instruments while you are awake. Now, the next part, the next question better to say is, what session am I going to trade most of the time? Asian session, UK session, or the US session? This is also really important. Different pairs move in the different regions, because why would Euro pound move in the Asian session? There is no sense for that, because Europe is closed and the UK is also closed. So definitely trying to trade the instruments from the countries that are working during Asian session is a much better pick than trying to trade all instruments. So Asian session, ideally go for that Yen group or a commodity currencies, because we have the China, we have Australia and the New Zealand that are running that commodity group, and they're all open during the Asian session, so fine. In the UK session, you can trade more or less everything because UK session usually have that most volatility. So you don't really need to worry what to select. But still, if you want that quick momentum, stick with the pairs like Euro USD, Pound Dollar mainly, and that Euro Pound group. In the US session, I would stick with US group. So dollar group definitely work the best in the US session. Of course, there are also the pairs that moved in the previous sessions, like the UK session. US session can also show some momentum, but most news come from Canada or US during the US session, so you can expect to trade more pairs that are in some ways related to the United States or Canada. For example, if you want to trade that Canada group, you can easily go with all commodity groups again, because dollar CAD, for example, have a great correlation with the Aussie dollar, and the Aussie dollar have the great correlation to the Kiwi dollar and the Euro Aussie, so you have a plenty of choices. The next question you need to ask is, what kind of return do I want to achieve with my trades? Maybe 1 to 2% for each trade, or 3 to 5%, or more than 5%. This is also a crucial part when you are looking to select the currency that you want to trade. Like we said, each pair move differently. So if you are looking to get 1 to 2%, definitely you don't need to select some stronger mover. So your risk can easily be at that lower portion. So trying to trade something that's moving but still moving in some normal range, compared to trying to trade pairs like exotics like dollar Mexican peso. Why? Because it's moving so strong. I would never recommend any trader that are looking for that conservative approach to trade exotics or crosses, because they like to move a little bit better than, let's say, majors, but still with that stronger momentum, we have slightly higher risk. So if you are looking to make 5% for your trades, it's much better to try to trade something that really shows some strong momentum right now, compared to trying to trade something that's not moving and then expecting your pair to reach. The simple to calculate this would be to use that risk reward. So if you are looking for, let's say, a 2% target, your basic risk reward is 1 2, especially with my strategies, minimum is 1 to 2, so you need that 1 to 2 risk reward. Definitely a lot of systems can get that 1 to 2, so you can select any single instrument you want. If you want to get 3 to 5, so automatically you should either double your risk or go with something like 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 risk reward approach. And that can require a little bit of change of currencies that you are going to trade. And of course, system that you are going to use. And over 5%, you only need to go for something crazier, like something that move, or go and double your risk. Because if you want 1 to 2 risk reward and you want to earn 5%, you need to risk at least 2.5%. You can't be that conservative trader that's always going to risk 1%. You must try, if you really want that 5+%, to increase that risk. Of course, my suggestion is to go slowly and only go for that 5% and higher once you're confident enough in yourself and your trading system. Because it's great if you are targeting the 5%, but if you're not sure how your system works, or you didn't prove to yourself that you can make money every single day or every single week at least, it's going to be hard, because every time you lose money, it's going to be harder to open the next trade. And that fear will have that negative impact. And that's why I always prefer you start small, so 1% per trade, or even smaller, like risking 0.5, so 0.5% for your risk, and targeting that 1% as a return. So even if you lose, you won't really pay that much attention because you know that you didn't lose that much and that the loss is something that you can easily fix. But if you lose, let's say 2.5%, let's say 5%, and you want to trade again, you will start thinking in your head something like, I'm already down that 5%. If I lose, I'm going to need to, let's say, stop trading for this week or this month. And it's going to be hard. That's why risking smaller for start is definitely something I highly recommend. Next question is, do I want to trade during the news events? Yes, I'm an aggressive trader. No, I'm a conservative trader. So trading the news is definitely great, but it's usually great for day traders that want to, let's say, make fast money, but it's hard. For new traders, usually trading the news can really give that negative impact on their account. So I would rather go with that conservative approach and say, don't trade the news until you master your system. But once you master the system, you can, let's say, include and focus to trade only the instruments that have the news coming today or this week. Now, problem with trading the instruments that have the news today is more, it's going to be a highly risked game, and you are limited to the time when you need to be in front of your PC. Since if you want to trade, let's say, US news, but you're still at work, that's going to be impossible because you need to know the news. You need to figure out in less than a second if that news really meet all your criterias and enter a trade. So definitely there is a good and bad side, because if you do this correctly, you can, let's say, end your trading day in a few minutes to 1 hour. But on the other side, if you don't have time or if you are not so experienced, it's probably better to stay aside for now. Now, let's see a few examples how I would approach building my list for a few sessions. Easy currency selection for Asian session day trading. Day trading the Asian session can be great if you select the right currency. Day trading requires fast entry and exit point, so we should mostly focus on momentum plays. Instruments that have a potential to move in these sessions are all pairs from yen group, so dollar yen, Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, Euro yen, pound yen, Canadian dollar yen, and all other yen pairs. Commodity instruments like Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar, Euro Aussie, and crosses like pound Aussie, pound Kiwi, Aussie Kiwi. So that's what I would focus. Also, I wouldn't trade, let's say, gold and other instruments, but I would like to know what's going to happen, like what's happening there. So I would include, let's say, gold or a crude or a copper. And if you want, using some index like Nikkei is great, just to get that feeling if the yen group have that power today or not. So that can be also great thing to include. You should also check for coming news even from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and China. If you have some important data from Japan, for example, focus for currency should be on yen group only. So definitely that's how I would build my list for potential Asian session day trading. So this 8 pairs, something I would watch every day and only stick to them. Of course, if we have something else that's moving, I would add it there, but my main list, so my main focus would be on these 8 pairs, but definitely you should check other yen pairs and crosses also. Easy currency selection for aggressive swing trade for UK session. Swing trading can be both easy and hard at the same time. Easy because the market usually shows a great volume once Europe starts to play, and hard because you need to be fast. If you want to be more aggressive, focus on the euro and pound group only, and focus on pullbacks during the news to allow you a faster entry options. And what I mean by that is that you want to look for a pullbacks that happen before the news or during the news and see if that pullback met some system rules that would allow you to buy or sell and join the larger trend. Because you can't really trade against the trend if you want to swing trade, just don't work that great. So you just stick to the trend and you should be fine. Definitely great idea would be to trade the formations for that. But if you want a slightly safer approach, move the risk from the euro to a commodity group, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, Kiwi dollar. They have a strong correlation, but if something goes wrong, you won't see as many strong movements. So definitely, if you don't want to risk that much and be that aggressive, switch that. You can still look for the euro USD and the pound dollar, but also try to watch the Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, Kiwi dollar, because they are more or less following the euro USD. But if you remove, let's say, a 200, 300 point in 5 minutes, Aussie dollar or any other pair from that group would move maybe 50. So it's going to give you a better chance of, let's say, playing safer. For conservative plays in the UK session, waiting for pullbacks and formation plays on 1 hour to 4 hour really works great. Here's idea how that would look. So focus is Euro USD, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, Euro pound, pound Swiss franc, Euro Aussie, Euro Kiwi. So we have more or less a little bit of both parts. So trying to see what's moving, what's not moving, and depending from the mood, like if I want to be a little bit more aggressive, I would take that Euro USD or the pound dollar on the news idea. But if you want to play safer, I would go with the Aussie dollar or some other pair that have a great correlation. Easy currency selection for aggressive day trade for US session. The US session is great for day trading, but here is one important detail. The market usually shows great amount of movements in the first 2 to 3 hours of the US session open. And if you fail to find an entry, do not expect some fast plays. Your focus can either be on the dollar group, like Euro USD, pound dollar, dollar yen, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, and the dollar index. This will work best if we have some decent data coming from the US and 80% of the month you can find something interesting on the calendar. Or focus on the previous session movers, check what moved in the UK session and focus on those pair if they haven't already reached daily support tree or resistance tree levels. US traders don't want to let Asian and the UK traders make all profit, so at the beginning of the session it's not rare to see US boys jumping to right, same positions as other two groups traded. So for trading the US, definitely focus on that dollar group during the first 2-3 hours for a day trading would be ideal. But keep in mind, if you don't find that entry point, you are more or less going to be in that level of swing trading where you are going to wait for more than 1 to 2 hours to exit the trade, but still it's fine, since during the entire US session we have a volatility, but the strongest volatility and that momentum we are going to see at the opening. Usually at the opening we have a lot of data coming, so be aware of that. And we want to be involved then, if you want to day trade. Of course, it's a really aggressive approach, since we are focusing on that dollar group. We are looking for that US news, so definitely a little bit more aggressive. But if you play this right, you can make a decent profit. Also, don't try to have too much trades open at the same time. Trying to take 2 to 3 trades, and that's all. So don't try to have 5, 10, 20 trades every single day. It's not going to work. Try to practice a little bit, see what pairs work for you, build a list of the pairs that ideally you want to trade, and we are going to continue from there. Select your currency based on your trading style and risk management. Never select currencies that someone else suggested.